I remember once attending a wedding where something felt off from the very beginning. Nothing dramatic happened that day, but there was this strange tension in the air, like everyone was smiling a second too late. Ever since then, I've believed that weddings have a way of revealing truths people work very hard to hide. This story reminded me of that feeling the moment I heard it. And the truth is, nothing prepares you for what happens when a ceremony built on love suddenly becomes a stage for a secret that refuses to stay buried. Claire had been dreaming of that day for as long as she could remember. The white dress hanging in the small room behind the church felt heavier than fabric, like it carried every hope she had ever allowed herself to believe in. She kept touching the ring on her finger, smiling to herself, whispering that this was it. This was the moment her life finally made sense. She was about to marry Michael. Michael was the kind of man people trusted instantly. He spoke calmly, laughed softly, and never raised his voice. He remembered names, opened doors, and always seemed genuinely interested in what others had to say. When Claire introduced him to her friends, they told her she was lucky. When she introduced him to her parents, her mother cried and hugged him longer than necessary. From the outside, their relationship looked effortless. They met 3 years earlier at a charity fundraiser organized by the local church. Claire volunteered there on weekends, helping coordinate food drives and community dinners. Michael showed up one evening in a simple button-down shirt, sleeves rolled up, asking where he could help. That was it. No dramatic sparks, no cinematic moment. Just two people standing next to each other, passing boxes of canned food, slowly talking about life. Claire later said that's what made her fall in love. He didn't try to impress her. He didn't rush anything. He listened. Michael told her he had moved to the city a few years before they met, looking for a fresh start. He didn't talk much about where he came from, only that his childhood had been complicated. Claire never pushed. She believed love meant accepting what someone was ready to give. They moved in together after a year. Michael was neat, organized, predictable. He woke up early, drank black coffee, read quietly at the kitchen table. At night, he held Claire like he was afraid she might disappear if he let go. Sometimes she noticed him staring at the ceiling, lost in thought, but when she asked, he always smiled and said he was just tired. There were small things, of course, things she noticed but chose not to question. Michael never talked about his family. No photos, no visits, no phone calls during holidays. When Claire suggested inviting them to the wedding, he gently changed the subject. He said they weren't close, that some doors were better left closed. Claire understood, or at least she thought she did. The church they chose for the wedding wasn't random. It was the same church where they met, the same place where Michael volunteered regularly. The priest, Father Thomas, had known Michael for years. They shared quiet conversations after Mass, exchanged respectful nods, and spoke with the familiarity of people who trusted each other. Claire liked Father Thomas. He was calm, composed, and spoke with a gentle authority that made people listen. When he agreed to officiate the wedding, Michael looked relieved. Claire noticed it at the time but didn't think much of it. She assumed it was just sentimental value. On the morning of the wedding, the church filled slowly. Sunlight filtered through stained glass windows, painting the wooden pews in soft colors. Guests whispered, laughed, adjusted their clothes. Everything felt normal, perfect even. Michael stood at the altar, hands clasped tightly in front of him. He kept taking deep breaths, his jaw tense. Father Thomas stood beside him, flipping through his book, but his movements were stiff, distracted. More than once he glanced at Michael, then quickly looked away. If someone had been paying close attention, they might have noticed it. The slight tremor in the priest's hands. The way his lips pressed together as if holding back words. Claire walked down the aisle smiling, eyes locked on Michael. In that moment, nothing else existed. Not the guests, not the music, not even the priest. Just the man she was about to marry. The ceremony began smoothly. Prayers, readings, familiar words spoken countless times before. Claire felt herself relax, finally breathing normally. This was happening. This was real. Then Father Thomas paused. First, it seemed like a simple mistake. A lost page, a forgotten line. But the silence stretched on. Too long. Long enough for whispers to ripple through the pews. Father Thomas closed the book slowly. He looked at Michael. Not the polite glance he'd given him earlier, but a direct, searching stare. His eyes filled with something Claire couldn't immediately recognize. Fear maybe. Or regret. "I need to stop the ceremony," the priest said quietly. A soft murmur spread across the church. Claire felt her heart skip. She laughed nervously, assuming it was some kind of misunderstanding. Michael didn't move. Father Thomas swallowed hard. "There is something that must be addressed before we go any further." Claire turned to Michael, confused. "What's going on?" she whispered. Michael's face had gone pale. His lips parted slightly, but no words came out. The priest's voice shook. "I recognize you," he said, barely above a whisper, but the microphone carried every word through the church. "And I should have spoken sooner." The room froze. Claire felt the world tilt beneath her feet. Her hands tightened around her bouquet as she searched Michael's face for reassurance. He avoided her gaze, staring straight ahead like a man bracing for impact. "I thought I was mistaken," Father Thomas continued. "I prayed that I was wrong." Someone in the front row gasped. Claire's chest burned. "Father, please," she said softly. "If there's a problem." "There is," he replied, gently but firmly. "And it involves the man you are about to marry." Michael finally looked at him then. His eyes were filled with panic. Silent pleading. This was the moment Claire later said replayed in her mind over and over again. The moment she realized she didn't truly know the person standing beside her. Father Thomas stepped away from the altar. "I need a moment," he said. "Please remain seated." He turned and walked toward the side room behind the altar. The doors closed behind him. The church erupted in whispers. Guests leaned toward each other, confusion spreading like wildfire. Claire stood frozen, tears blurring her vision. "What is this?" she whispered to Michael. "What's happening?" Michael shook his head slowly. "I didn't think he'd remember," he said under his breath. Her heart stopped. "Remember what?" she asked. He didn't answer. Those seconds felt endless. Claire's thoughts raced, grasping at explanations that didn't make sense. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe Father Thomas confused Michael with someone else. People made mistakes. Priests were human too. But deep down, a terrible realization began to form. When Father Thomas returned, his face looked older, heavier, like he had aged years in those few minutes. He stepped back to the microphone. "I have known you under a different name," he said, looking directly at Michael. "In a different place. Under circumstances you never told her about." Claire felt her knees weaken. Michael finally spoke. "Please," he said. "Not here." The priest's voice cracked. "You gave me no choice when you brought this into my church." A heavy silence followed. Father Thomas took a deep breath. "Years ago," he said, "a young man came to me seeking forgiveness. He carried guilt so heavy it nearly destroyed him. He confessed things that changed lives." Claire's ears rang. Her body felt numb. "I believed he wanted redemption," the priest continued. "I believed he would face his past honestly." Michael closed his eyes. "That man disappeared," Father Thomas said. "And today, standing here, I realized he never truly left. He just became someone else." Claire turned to Michael, her voice shaking. "What is he talking about?" Michael opened his eyes slowly. Tears streamed down his face. "I wanted to be better," he said quietly. "I wanted to start over." Claire's breath caught in her throat. The guests stared openly now, no longer pretending not to listen. Father Thomas stepped closer to them. "You changed your name," he said. "You changed your life. But you never faced the truth." Claire felt her legs give way. A bridesmaid rushed forward, helping her sit on a nearby chair. "Tell me," Claire pleaded. "Please, just tell me." Michael knelt in front of her. "I was someone else before," he said. "I did something terrible. Something I can never undo." Her mind screamed, searching for meaning. Father Thomas's voice echoed through the church. "This marriage cannot continue under a lie." A sob escaped Claire's lips. At that moment, everything she thought she knew shattered. The man she loved, the future she imagined, the vows she was ready to speak. All of it crumbled beneath a truth she wasn't prepared to hear. And the worst part was this. The priest still hadn't said what Michael had actually done. That revelation was yet to come. Claire later said that the silence after those words was louder than any scream she'd ever heard. People shifted in their seats, unsure whether they were witnessing something sacred or something deeply wrong. No one stood up. No one left. It was as if the entire church was holding its breath, waiting for the truth to finally land. Michael remained kneeling in front of her, his shoulders shaking. For the first time since she'd known him, he looked small. Not calm, not controlled, just exposed. Father Thomas stepped back, giving them space, but his presence still filled the room. He wasn't angry. That was what unsettled Claire the most. He looked burdened, like a man who had carried this moment for years without knowing it would end like this. "Tell her," the priest said quietly. "She deserves to hear it from you." Michael swallowed hard. He glanced around the church at the faces staring back at him. Friends, family, strangers who had come to celebrate love and were now trapped inside its collapse. "I wasn't always Michael," he began. "I wasn't even close to the man you think I am." Claire felt her heart pounding in her ears. Part of her wanted to cover them, to stop the words from entering her body. Another part needed to know no matter how much it hurt. "Years ago," Michael continued, "I lived in another city. Different name, different life. I was angry all the time. I blamed everyone for my failures." Father Thomas lowered his head slightly, as if bracing himself. "I got involved with the wrong people," Michael said. "I made choices that hurt someone who trusted me." A low murmur spread through the church. Claire shook her head. "What kind of choices?" she asked, her voice barely holding together. Michael's eyes filled again. "There was a woman," he said. "She believed in me. She depended on me. And I used that." Father Thomas closed his eyes. "I stole from her," Michael admitted. "Money, her savings, everything she had put aside to start over. I told myself I'd pay it back. I never did." Claire felt sick. "But that wasn't the worst part," Michael whispered. The priest lifted his gaze sharply. "When she realized what I'd done," Michael continued, "she confronted me. We argued. I said things I can never take back. She fell. She hit her head." A gasp rippled through the church. "She didn't die," Michael said quickly, as if trying to stop the panic. "But she was injured badly. Brain damage. Her life, it was never the same." Claire pressed a hand to her mouth. "I ran," Michael said. "I panicked. I left her there and disappeared. Changed my name. Changed everything." Father Thomas stepped forward. "You came to me weeks later," he said, his voice heavy. "You were desperate. Broken. You confessed." Michael nodded. "You told me to turn myself in," he said softly. "I begged you to," the priest replied. "I couldn't," Michael said. "I was afraid. I told myself I could become someone better instead. That I'd live a good life and somehow make it right." Claire felt tears streaming down her face, unchecked. Every memory replayed in her mind with a new horrifying clarity. His kindness, his silence, his fear of the past. "You let me believe you were someone you weren't," she said, her voice cracking. Michael crawled closer. "I loved you," he said. "I still do." Her laughter came out broken, sharp. "You don't get to say that," she replied. "Not after this." Father Thomas turned to the congregation. "I stayed silent," he said. "I convinced myself it wasn't my place anymore. I believed he had changed." He looked back at Michael. "But when I saw you standing here, about to bind another innocent life to a lie, I knew I couldn't let it happen." Claire stood slowly, her legs trembling. She looked at Michael one last time. The man she thought she knew was gone. In his place was a stranger shaped by fear and selfishness. "I can't marry you," she said quietly. The words felt unreal, but once spoken, they settled into her chest with painful certainty. Michael broke down completely then, sobbing openly in front of everyone. Claire turned to Father Thomas. "What happens now?" she asked. The priest met her gaze. "Now the truth does what it always does," he said. "It changes everything." The ceremony ended without music, without applause. Guests left in stunned silence, unsure whether to comfort Claire or avoid her altogether. Michael turned himself in 2 days later. The story didn't end there, though. It never really does. Claire moved back in with her parents. For months, she avoided mirrors because she didn't recognize the woman staring back at her. She questioned her judgment, her instincts, every moment of happiness she'd felt with him. Sometimes late at night, she wondered if he truly had changed. If people could ever outrun their past. Michael pled guilty. The woman he'd hurt was still alive, living under constant care. When Claire learned that part, she cried harder than she had on the day of the wedding. Not for Michael. For the life he had shattered long before hers. Father Thomas resigned from the parish a year later. He said the weight of silence had taught him a lesson he couldn't ignore. He continued his work elsewhere, quieter, humbler. As for Claire, healing came slowly, painfully, but it came. Years later, she attended another wedding. She sat in the back, hands folded, heart cautious. When the vows were spoken, she felt tears again. But this time they weren't born from loss. They came from understanding. Because she knew something most people didn't. Love without truth isn't love. It's a performance. And sometimes, the bravest thing anyone can do is stop the ceremony before the lie becomes permanent. If you stayed with this story until the end, thank you. Stories like this linger because they remind us how fragile trust really is, and how powerful truth can be, even when it hurts. If you want to hear more real, emotional stories that explore love, secrets, and the moments that change lives forever, take a moment to subscribe and stay with us. Your support means more than you know, and I truly appreciate you for listening.